What up, guys? It's fan service Renji.
I'm Shana Mostella.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shinobi Squad Podcast. Oh, you see how I switched it up? How we said our names first and then the
I was
title?
wondering, I was like, there's something missing.
What's different? I kind of realized I messed up halfway through. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep going and make people think I switched it up.
Good.
But now that I said it out loud, y'all know I didn't switch it up. I just messed up. Anyways, it's still October. We are continuing with the Halloween festivities.
Yes.
As we said, 31 days of Halloween starting right last week. That didn't come out right either. But today we're going to talk about some scary stories, some supernatural spooks that we've experienced. Let's get right into it.
I have a cluster of childhood stories. I used to live in this apartment, maybe a couple houses down from my childhood house that I had. But there was an apartment it was a house that they turned into an apartment. Me and my mom rented it out because we were living with my grandparents at the time and my mom wanted to be more independent. So she just found something that was still close. This place, I want to say they were trying to make it into like a Section 8 kind of place.
For those that don't know what Section 8 is, it's low income, a.k.a. the hood.
Because I remember there was this man that ran the building. He was in charge of the building, and he would always go and talk to the other tenants that were living there. And he would always say things like he was checking in with them. I don't know how Section 8 works. This was like maybe before my preteen years. I was really young. This place, it was strange. And I noticed that right away. I'll start with this story. I remember having this toy. It was like this baby doll's toy, you know, with like the little walker, like you know when babies walk in a little walker? I had one of those for one of my dolls. So I'm just sitting there in my room playing with this walker and my baby doll. This thing was battery operated, but it didn't have batteries at the time because the batteries had already ran out and everything. I distinctly remember the battery cartridge being open. I just left it open. I don't know why, but I just remember it being open. The bathroom was right across from my room. I left the toy there, and I went across the hall to the bathroom. And from the bathroom, you can see into my bedroom if you left the door open. I just remember being on the toilet, and I looked over, and I see my baby doll toy just going around in circles by itself.
Ugh.
Just going around, and you can distinctly see the battery door being open. And, you know, being a kid, you're like, oh, you think like maybe I left it on, maybe I was playing with it or whatever, and like the batteries are just going. No, there was no batteries in it. None at all. None
You could clearly see that there was no batteries
you
in
could
it.
clearly see. And I don't know why I remember that because I just remember seeing the thing going by itself. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, wait, but there's no batteries in it.
As soon as you said baby doll, like my face already started curling in stank face. Ugh, my face just started curling. Anyways.
In a nutshell, this place that we were living at, I could feel something weird there. Even as a kid, like I was a really young child at the time. It just felt off, like something was wrong. Or like it just always felt like something was watching you. After that whole baby doll incident, I jumped up off the toilet and ran to my mom.
Ooh.
Like it was terrible. It was terrible. But
ooh, you didn't wipe up booty all dirty, winning the pooing it with no undies
you would
on?
do the same thing if you saw your toys playing by
just
themselves.
drip, just doo-doo crumbs all
Whatever.
over the
I don't want to
ground.
hear it. You would have too if you saw your toys playing by themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
I would have jumped off a toilet mid-shit prairie dogging it. Just leaving a streak where I went.
A streak.
I don't mess around with that stuff.
I remember in my mom's room, the master bedroom, she had a closet, like a walk-in closet. It was small. In that closet, there was another little doorway. It was very small. I think it was no bigger than maybe like, I want to say 3 feet tall and maybe like, it was very small.
Like a crawl space
Like a
door.
crawl space kind of thing.
Okay.
There was nothing in there because we never had anything small enough to put in there. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. It was just there. And this little crawl space, the door even looked like it shouldn't have been there. Like it was just so out of place. It was like an iron wrought design on the outside of the door.
Yeah.
And the little, the latch of the door was like one of those like a treasure chest. I just remember opening it one day. And it was just so cold inside. There was nothing in there. It just, every time you open it, it was like a cool breeze just came out of there. I remember asking my mom, I'm like, what if I knocked on this door and something knocked back?
Ooh.
And my mom said, you better not do that
Slapped
shit.
the shit out of you.
She was like, you better not. Because, like I said before, I was always weird as a kid. Like, I
Yeah.
always like weird stuff. And my mom didn't do anything to, like, hinder that. She loved sci fi stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She would watch Tales from the Crypt with me. She would have me watching The Outer Limits and all
Uh-huh.
those, like, weird sci fi shows back in the day. So I was no stranger to any of that stuff. I was already weird myself, but then she introduced me to sci-fi and all that kind of stuff. So my mom was always on the same page with me. So if I ever told her that I saw a ghost, she would believe me. That same apartment. This is around the time where I think only Eric was around. Justin hadn't been born yet. This is how young we were because we are all 3 years apart from each other. Eric would come over from time to time and have sleepovers. And my mom would always say, she would always think that for some reason we were up past our bedtime playing around because she would see us running past her door into the living room. My mom's room was there and then like the living room was right in front of her room. And for some reason I just remember her always saying that, like, oh, you guys are being bad last night. You guys are, and I'm like, Mom, like, we weren't awake. Me and Eric were asleep. It wasn't until she had one of her friends over one night when me and Eric were having our sleepover, and he said, "Man, your kids must be just having so much energy. Like I see them running past your door every 5 minutes." And my mom was like, she was trying to say like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I've said that before. I've noticed that before." And like she was trying to say like, "Oh yeah, it happens." Her friend thought it was weird that that was happening all the time. Mind you, he said we weren't making any noise. We were just running back and forth. Kids, if you're running like that and if you're playing like that,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna make noise. You're
Yeah.
gonna like be like, you know, crazy and whatever. So my mom's like, okay, let me go check on them. Let me see like what's going on. When she went into our room, me and Eric were dead asleep.
Oh.
Tucked in. We all have our blankets up to our chins. Like we were both just knocked out. So then my mom told me that the next day, and I'm just like, Mom, no, because she had been saying that like nonchalant, like, oh, you guys are just having fun. But this night, she's like, you guys were asleep, right? Like you weren't up. I'm like, no, I was passed out. But Eric used to snore, so you could hear him snoring. My mom believed that it wasn't us because she remembered that Eric snores. So she's like, something's going on. And we didn't know what was going on. One of the kids that lived there would say that she was scared of me for some reason. She would never come talk to me. She would never be in the same room as me. And every time she saw me, she would run away.
Oh.
So then I asked her one day, and I'm just like, what's going on with you? Like, why can't we be friends? She's like, you know, there's something behind you, right?
Oh. No. No.
I'm like, what do you mean? Because I remember they were outside and I could see them because she would play with the other kids that lived in the building, and I would always feel left out with this one girl because she was friends with everybody else in the building before I moved there. I was the odd one out, you know. So if this girl didn't want to play with me, the rest of them would just, you know, go along with her. And I remember being in the window and looking down at them, and I remember them just like playing and playing and playing, and then this girl, she looked at me and she like audibly screamed and ran away.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know. Maybe something was following me. I don't know if something was attached to me. I don't know what it was. This place was crazy. I always had like Barbie dolls and stuff like that, and I would always see them out of place. I would have my dolls laying on the ground, and then I'd come back in the room, they'd be all sitting up. That place was crazy. I seriously want to do like a history check on that building and see what was going on
Yeah.
with that place, just to see like if there was anything wrong. I don't know. I should look that up. I really should.
You really need to. That's why I can't live somewhere super old. That baby doll story just creeped me out.
Mm-hmm.
Toy Story, the movie, was not a family fun Disney movie to me. It was a childhood nightmare. Toys coming to life? No. That scared the shit out of me. Being from Southeast Asia, my family believes in the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
It's never been just a story. It's never been taboo. My parents openly spoke about how ghosts are real, demons are real, possessions, and all the spooky shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was told a story about how personal possessions, like toys, for example, come to life.
Mm-hmm.
They get attached to their owners and they want to be a part of them. I had a hand-me-down bootleg He-Man Battle Cat that my brother gave me.
Battle Cat.
There was this story or this urban legend about if you leave a toy outside during the right circumstances, a thunderstorm on a blood moon on the 3rd week of the month. If lightning struck it, this toy would come to life.
Mm-hmm.
I was a super young, dumb kid. My family was getting ready to move from California to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was like, whatever toys you want, pack them up. And whatever ones you don't want, throw them away or leave them outside, bury them in the backyard. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I left Battle Cat in the backyard. Guess what? Thunderstorm on the blood moon on the 3rd week of the month.
Wow.
I'm going to Michigan. Bootleg Battle Cat, the last thing on my mind. It didn't even look close to the real Battle Cat.
Right.
Like the real He-Man Battle Cat, it's like green with like orange stripes. This thing was like navy blue and it looked like a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Get to Michigan. Even there, we lived at my grandma's house and we had this like quote unquote pet cemetery sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much where you bury shit and it reappears.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I'm living in Michigan for a good year. One day, we go outside to this pet cemetery sandbox to bury some toys. Once again, we heard a story. If you bury something in the sandbox, it's going to reappear in the cornfield behind us.
Mm-hmm.
As kids, we're told that there was like dead bodies in that sandbox. We're like, yeah, let's bury something in here. Anyways, my cousins buried some toys in there. I'm going over that sandbox. As we're digging a hole to bury some stuff, we found bootleg He-Man Battle Cat in that sandbox.
Wow.
I knew that was my Battle Cat, and it scared the shit out of me because mine had a broken tail.
Mm-hmm.
This one had a broken tail. I tried to tell my parents. They were like, well, we told you not to mess around with that shit.
Right.
I tried to tell my brothers, and my brothers were just like, haha, you're haunted now.
Damn.
Battle Cat followed you. I try to tell this story to other people, and they're just like, you're crazy. Well, it could have been a coincidence, and it could have been. But it still scares me as an adult to think about that years later. It's like, there's no chance that that same freaking toy was buried in this random house that we all lived in. Like, we moved to Michigan from California.
Mm-hmm.
And that sandbox, there's more stories to it, but that sandbox was spooky in itself. There was times where my cousins would bury their Hot Wheels in there. Mm-hmm. We'd go play off in the cornfield after they would plow it down for the season, and we would see some of those toys turn up in the cornfield.
What?
Because the tractors, you know, they're big machines, and they grind everything up.
Yeah.
And it lifts up the soil. And I shit you not, we would find some of the shit we buried in the sandbox deep in the cornfield somewhere.
What?
So that's why Toy Story was a horror movie to me.
Mm-mm.
My parents didn't make me feel any better. Like, yep, that's the shit that happened when you play with the supernatural.
Wow.
Thanks, parents. Thanks. You had mentioned your mom and her friend heard children running back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I just got goosebumps just thinking about it. Whew. I don't have a lot of facial hair, but all the facial hair I had just kind of just like tingled and stood up.
All 5 of them.
So let's fast forward to high school. I was dating this girl, right? I went to the house she was staying at. She got kicked out of her parents' house. Mm-hmm. She was staying at her cousin's house or her uncle's house or something like that. She lived in the basement. She calls me over to come pick her up. Mm-hmm. She's like, hey, the door's unlocked. Just come downstairs in the basement. Mm-hmm. I'd never been in this house before, mind you. So I'm trying to figure it out. Walk in the house. I hear a TV in the living room. No one's around. I make my way downstairs. As soon as I open that door, I feel this tension, this chill shoot up my arms. I'm sitting there thinking like, damn, this basement is cold. Mm-hmm. Do they got the AC blasting or something? Why is it so cold in here? I make my way down there and the air just feels so thick. I know she's staying in the room at the end. Mm-hmm. This basement had like 2 rooms. Only one room was an actual bedroom, and the other one's like a laundry room or just some utility room. Mm-hmm. I'm walking towards her door. I'm hearing upstairs. I'm hearing children run around. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. The TV's on. The kids are watching TV. They're playing. Mm-hmm. I make my way to her room. You know, we hug and we kiss or whatever. I'm like, is it okay that you're leaving? Aren't you supposed to be watching your nieces and nephews? She's like, oh, nobody's home.
What?
I'm like, wait, what? Don't you hear the commotion upstairs? She's like, yeah.
Nope.
I thought the terms that you made with your uncle that you watch their kids while you live here. She's like, yeah, I am watching their kids. They're other kids. wait, hold up. They're quote unquote other kids? She's like, yeah. Do you care to explain what these other kids are? How are you telling me that there's nobody home, but there's kids running upstairs?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, oh, I never told you, did I? Apparently not.
Obviously, if I'm asking this question.
This girl tells me her uncle paid her and let her live in his house. All she had to do was babysit his kids, not his real kids, his supernatural ghost kids.
What? So he never had any kids?
He had 2 kids.
Uh-huh.
He would take them with him when he left home.
Oh.
He needed someone to babysit his ghost children when he wasn't home. She told me she had to spend a certain amount of time with them every day.
Mm-hmm.
And when she left, to leave the TV on for them. That's why the TV was on upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
She had played with these kids throughout the day, and she was leaving, so she turned on the TV. Oh, God, hold on. That still terrifies me to this day. Like, I'm rubbing my arm right now because I got chills. Let's take a side note. This girl was Cambodian.
Mm-hmm.
In Cambodian, Lao, Thai culture, in Southeast Asia,
Mm-hmm.
the jungle Asians, there is some folklore of when someone has a miscarriage, if you keep the stillborn fetus,
Mm-hmm.
put it in a jar or whatever container, an urn or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the physical being of the child is dead, but the spirit continues to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do it within a certain amount of time.
Wow.
Apparently, my girlfriend at the time's uncle, his wife had 2 miscarriages
Mm-hmm.
back to back. This guy dug the child out of the toilet
Oh.
after his wife was like, I think I just had a miscarriage. He literally went in the toilet, grabbed the baby, put it in a jar.
Mm.
And these 2 jars are on his mantle over his fireplace.
Ugh.
He named these dead fetuses and everything.
Wow.
He raised these spirits as if they were his own children.
Mm-hmm.
He gave them names. He would present meals to them when the family would eat.
Ugh.
It'd be him, his wife, his 2 live children, and there'd be place settings for the 2 spiritual children and my girlfriend. My girlfriend, being Cambodian, she believed all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he said to do, read him a story, play with them, she would. She didn't falter from it. She believed it as well. She said she could see them.
Ugh.
They lived in the basement with her.
Oh.
So she would see them and hear them. Oh my God. These chills
Oh.
are just going. It's on my face. But she would do what her uncle told her to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the TV was on. That creeped me out because I'm just like, funny, ha, you joking. She's like, nah. Do you want to go upstairs and look around? My nieces and nephews aren't here.
Mm-hmm.
We went upstairs, opened every room, every door. Nobody was home except her.
What?
Also, she's not the irresponsible type just to leave kids alone in the house because her
Right.
nieces and nephews were like 5 and 6.
Uh-huh.
She wouldn't just leave them there. So I believed everything she said.
Mm-hmm.
There's really something going on here.
Mm-hmm.
I went to that house maybe 2 more times. I went inside, felt the same eerie feeling every time.
Mm.
At some point, I just told her, I'm going to honk the horn. You come outside.
Uh-huh.
I can't do this anymore.
Right.
Just wrap up that story. I had a father figure that's probably like 15 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
At this time of my life, my own dad had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was like who I looked to advice. One day, he was just casually telling me a story about how his cousin had a miscarriage. He's telling me all this sadness and this tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells me she took the baby and put it in a jar and did the same thing. I was like, wait, hold up. This shit is real?
Uh-huh.
He was Cambodian as well.
Mm-hmm.
People really do this?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, it's normal. It's like, your parents never told you this?
Oh.
No, they failed to leave out the fetus ghost babies in my bedtime stories.
Oh, hell no.
Anyways, he backed up the story my girlfriend told me.
Mm-hmm.
And from that moment on, that shit just scared me.
Right.
It's not like we were talking about Halloween shit. It was like July or something. He just
Right.
told me out of nowhere. Anyways, y'all probably like, thinking these Southeast Asians are just sickos. But okay. So there's a story behind that. All right, just real quick. The reason behind that is the folklore goes, you raise these dead babies
Mm-hmm.
and they bring you good fortune as long as you care for them like real children.
Mhm.
You raise them until they become quote unquote adults, and then
Mhm.
you could release them to the spirit world.
Right.
The thing they don't tell a lot of people is if you neglect them,
Mhm.
these spirits become evil and they
Mhm.
bring your family misfortune. You can turn this tragedy to good fortune, but there's very specific rules
Right.
that you have to treat this spiritual baby as a real child. I never asked my parents about that. I'm like, you know what? Y'all have told me enough messed up stuff in my life.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna even ask about this.
Well, because your culture believes in that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Children are a blessing until they're spirits and come haunt you. Ugh. Gross. Okay. Anyways, let's throw it to Shana. I can't go back to that dark place right now. That still scares me.
A lot of these things scare you because you think back on these things when you're just a kid or you're just living your life as a young adult or whatever. And then you think back on these moments and it's just like, it was real, you know? And it's just,
Mm-hmm.
you think back and it's like, at the time, you might not have noticed it or really felt it like that, but these things are real.
Even if it's not real physically, it was real enough
Hmm.
emotionally.
Exactly. So going back to the apartment that I was living in with my mom, after my mom thought me and my cousin were playing in the living room in the dead of night. There were things like I would hear somebody talking to me when I was in the bathtub. I heard something literally like speak back to me when I was yelling out to my mom. I was saying something like, "Mom, I need more soap," or "I need something." This thing was like, "Oh, you need more soap, huh?" It was like clever. It had like a to
Yeah, it
it.
listened.
And then it was like copying me what I was saying. I would say something, it'd be like it would repeat it. Why I wanted to tell it in little stories because these things didn't happen all the time. It was just like one and done. It
Mm-hmm.
was like this would happen and then another thing would happen and then another thing would happen. It would never be like the same thing all the time. It would be like one Christmas my mom had bought me one of those art tables, those artist tables for
Yeah.
kids. I think it was by like Play School or this desk was the shit though. Like this cost like almost $200.
Damn. Okay.
It had like it was like a little plastic desk,
Mm-hmm.
but it had like little drawers I could put my art stuff in. It had like a little easel desk on it where you can put paper under it and there's like a little under lamp and everything. It was the bomb. It was great. It was the shit. And as a kid, you're like, it has so many cool gadgets and whistles and everything. And the way my mom set it up, she had like put markers in it for me and colored pencils. That's like the best gift my mom has ever given to me to this day. Like she's never gotten me anything cooler. After I received it, I was using it all the time. In this apartment, we never had any rodents or bugs or anything like that. I go to sit at my desk as normal. I see this big ass cockroach. I'm talking like it was as big as my phone. Like it was this big, but it looked like one of those hissing cockroaches or those like Madagascar like ribbed, you know, like those
Yeah,
cockroaches
yeah.
with the lines
Yeah.
on
Oh, well,
them.
you lived in Chicago,
I
so
lived in Chicago at the time.
far away from Madagascar.
But I always think back to this apartment all the time because there's things in that apartment that happened that I'm just like, that shouldn't have happened or these things shouldn't have been going on. But when I thought back to that cockroach, it was a big ass cockroach and it's like one of those hissing, weird, like animal type kind of cockroaches that was just sitting there in my desk, like on one of the little containers. And it was just sitting there and I screamed for my mom and she came over and like killed it and everything. Where I was at the time, that should not have existed.
Yeah, that's like that end of days kind of shit, or like in the Mummy where like the scarab beetles kept coming
Yeah.
out. It's one of those like bad omens, I guess. You know, when you see a certain creature or a bug or something like
You
that.
wouldn't see those kinds of things just on the norm.
Yeah.
You would have to like go out of your way to like buy it because you could buy like hissing cockroaches at the pet store or whatever. But this thing was just sitting in my desk, and I freaked out so bad. It was
Mhm.
horrible. Also, used to see this dog around, this black dog, Sirius Black.
Sirius Black.
I saw it once, but all my friends in the apartment complex used to see it all the time, and no one knew who it belonged to. And one time, my mom's friend that was over, the same friend that thought me and my cousin were playing in the living room, he saw the same dog too. I'm like, damn, like you must be connected to this place in some way because you saw us playing in the living room, these little ghost kids or whatever. And now you see this phantom dog, and he's like, yeah, I noticed that this dog didn't have any teeth though. He just didn't have any teeth, and I'm like, how did you know that? And he's like, well, I went up to it and tried to pet it, and I just noticed it didn't have any teeth. And then he walked away and it was gone. So I'm like, this phantom dog everyone's been talking about is real. And it's funny you mentioned old places or places that have been around for a long time. I never even mentioned that part because this apartment has to have been old because my own house that I lived in was built in the 1800s. My family home, quick backstory, my grandparents, my immediate grandparents, they had bought this home back before they even had like my mom or my mom's siblings and everything. They settled in this little suburb little area in Chicago, but this house had been around way before their time. We ended up moving from that apartment back to the house. A lot of things just kept happening and kept happening. We just felt uncomfortable in our own house, you know. This was a really big house. This, I want to say like a full family home. This place had its own history and its own hauntings. It never felt malicious, but it was still just one of those old buildings that just had stories to tell.
Yeah.
Come to find out, this house used to be a church back in the day.
Ooh, that's already
Yeah.
enough.
I just remember being up in the middle of the night, or being woken up even in the middle of the night, just hearing people talking. It wasn't anything like you could understand. It was more like just chitter chat, you know, just like
Yeah.
background noise.
Yeah.
I would always be woken up in the middle of the night hearing people just talking, just having a great time, like a gathering kind of. Not like a party, but more like people were just there, just gathered.
Yeah.
I would smell coffee being made, fresh coffee. In the dead of night, I'm talking like 3 o'clock in the morning every night, I would smell bacon being cooked. And there would be nobody downstairs at all. All the lights are off, everybody was asleep. It was just one of those things where it's like, am I tripping right now? Like, what's going on? Sometimes I would wake up by someone saying my name in the middle of the night, too. They'd be like, Shana. Shana. It would wake me up because it would be one of those things where you're like, you think you're dreaming, but then it's like one of those things that if it said my name, I would just like jolt awake. And it would just be like out of a freaking movie, you know? It would be that. And then my house had an attic. I don't know what it was used for before, but I would always hear something up there, like boxes moving back and forth or papers being strewn about. It was just crazy. And every time you would go up there would be like stuff from when my mom was a kid and when my aunts were kids and stuff like that. Like all their childhood memorabilia would be up there. What was weird was that they had like they weren't life-size baby dolls, but they were like bigger than most, like 3-foot baby dolls and stuff. They would be hanging from their necks with like string on like a closet rod or whatever that they had up there. Everything that they had was like hanging from their necks. And then my aunt had like a pair of rollerblades up there hanging, and it was just something out of a horror movie, you know, like when you go up to the attic and it's all like weird and shit.
That was the house in Maywood, right?
That was the house in Maywood, yeah.
I've been in that attic.
It looks crazy.
Okay, just to give you guys a clear picture, when Shana says attic, that's like discrediting how big the space was.
Yeah.
This was like a whole floor of a house. That house has a main floor and upstairs where the bedrooms were, but the attic could have been divided into another bedroom and a living room. That's how much space was up there. Like, I don't even know why it was called an attic.
When I say attic, I just meant because it was like,
it was being used as an attic, but when you go up there, the floors were finished. Mm-hmm. It's not like you had to walk on plywood around. The floors were finished. It could have been a whole nother level. That's how much space was up there.
I always wanted to make that top space into like my living space because at the time, like it was my grandparents, my grandma, my grandpa, my mom, and me. So I wanted my own space, and that very well could have been its own space alone because it had its own like private staircase, had its own door, everything. It was amazing. It was really immaculate, but I just call it an attic because that's just what it was to us. I always had reoccurring dreams about this place, and like they had baby crib, like a baby crib up there, like from when my mom was a baby or whatever. But I would always have reoccurring dreams that this baby crib was a portal to another world. And I would always go into this baby crib and just end up somewhere else. Again, it never really felt malicious, but it was always something going on there. I remember seeing someone in the closet, like a kid or something. Like it reminded me of Chucky, Child's Play.
Yeah.
I remember something sitting in the closet and it was like holding its hands like this, and I just saw the hands. It was it freaks me out to this day. I also remember one Christmas, little footprints being on the roof.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Little, like, size 4, 5 footprints. They were small, but where I was sleeping at the time, you could see like the side slope of the roof outside of my window, and I saw fresh footprints during that time because it snows. And I'm like, I know my grandparents and my mom combined together could not be this creative to like make me think, okay, Santa Claus is here. Like they would go out
Yeah.
there and walk around in boots and like, make it seem
Yeah.
like there was something out there. They did not like falter in themselves when I showed them what that was, and they're like, we don't know what that is, but yeah, lock the windows.
Holy shit! As soon as you shut the door, your grandma was like, "Good God!"
Just like you, my parents and my grandparents and their culture, I guess, because they were very Southern. They all grew up in Alabama, like deep in the South somewhere. My grandma remembers discrimination and like the colored side. And if I said something was going on, they would never say that it wasn't real. Every time I've ever come to them for any reason, like when it comes to like haunted shit or I saw a ghost they're like, yeah, that's cool, but don't say anything about it. Don't talk to it. Just go about your life and just leave it alone. They never said it wasn't real. My mom was the same way. She was all into like the sci-fi stuff. My mom even like when I came to her about, seeing the thing in the closet or, hearing people chatting downstairs and making coffee and bacon in the middle of the night, she never said anything against it. If you hear it again or you smell something cooking downstairs, just ignore it.
Yeah, your grandparents were probably like, "Oh, that's nice. You saw footprints and you smelled coffee. Well, we saw the ghosts of our friends that got lynched.
Oh,
We saw the ghosts of our friends that got burnt at the stake just because they were black."
yeah.
So I think that's what it is too. Because I felt that vibe from my dad too. Because my dad fought during like the Vietnam War and stuff like that. He would just kind of do the same thing. You heard a noise? Well, I saw my friend that jumped on a grenade
Damn.
with his guts blown out come to my job. Okay.
And this is why we found each other,
Yeah.
So we both have weird families.
Yeah.
One of the last things I remember happening in this house before they passed away, my grandparents, we had this really old TV downstairs in the living room area. It was one of those like really old like Zenith kind of TVs with the wood grain on the side, like 6 feet of wood, but only like 10 inches of screen.
It's like a grand oak tree that's been there for 100 years.
You had to open a panel to get to like the dials and stuff.
Yep.
It was so old, but it was in color though. We had like the little antennas with the little dials and the things and the little wires.
The tin foil.
It was fancy for its time, I guess, but this thing, like, you couldn't just, accidentally tap it and it would turn on.
Yeah.
It wasn't like TVs today where everything's touchscreen. This is like you had to open a panel to get to those controls.
Yeah, there's physical knobs.
Yeah.
Like there's people that used to put pliers on it because the knobs would break. So you have to put pliers to clamp that little ass knob just to turn the channel.
I just want to stress the fact that this was the kind of TV that you couldn't just like happen to turn on one day. In the middle of the night, again, maybe like around 3 o'clock in the morning, this thing would go off by itself. During this time, like in the 90s, if all the programs were done for the day, your TV would just at some point turn to like static.
Yeah, you would get that message saying, "We have reached the end of our broadcast day," and it would usually be like an American flag waving.
And I remember that too, because I watched TV so long one night because I wanted to see that to see if it was true, and it happened, and then the whole TV just went.
And then the Star Spangled Banner would play, and then it'd be like, "This concludes our broadcast day." Just static.
That's exactly what happened. But it came on, but at full volume blast. It was so loud and it woke up the entire house. It was so bad to where we thought someone had broke in or we didn't know what was going on because it was just such a bad, like loud sound. It startled us so bad. And like my grandparents woke up and they're like, what the hell is that? And then I woke up and I went downstairs because they were all afraid to go downstairs. So I'm like, I'm going to go downstairs. I don't care. Because I knew what it was. Like, you hear the static. I'm like, I'm just going to go downstairs.
It's just a TV.
It's just a TV. My grandparents were like, no, somebody might have broken in. They might have turned on the TV or whatever by
Yeah, it could have been a
accident.
crackhead
Could have been someone.
because it was the hood of Chicago. So yeah, a crackhead breaking in to turn on your TV isn't too far fetched.
It's not. So they were right to be scared. But me being a dumb kid, I just go down like, I'm going to show it what's boss. I'm just going to go down and turn it off. You know, like for some reason though, when we got down there, the TV would not turn off by its dial. We kept pushing the button, pushing the button, pushing the button. It would happen like maybe like once a week. It would happen in the middle of the night, dead of night, just come on full blast, just nothing but static. But we could never turn it off by its dial. So we didn't know what was wrong. Maybe we thought like maybe the TV was just like broken or something was wrong with it. So we got into the habit of unplugging it at some point. One of the first nights that this happened, I go downstairs. I'm going to show it what's boss. I was like at the foot of the stairs, and my grandpa's like, don't go any farther. There might be someone down there. And I just go puffing my chest. Who's ever down here? I'm going to fight you. I don't care. You woke us all up. I'm mad now. And my grandpa was like, you can't say that. Like, stop saying that. You're going to piss whatever is down there off. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. They woke me up. I was sleeping. I was like, come out here and fight me. I'm going to fight you. I'm going to beat your ass. My grandpa's like, you can't say that. Stop that. It happened several times after that. It was crazy. I don't know what made it happen, but it would happen so often to where we just left the TV unplugged until we wanted to watch it, of course. But
yeah, that TV wasn't broken because for those families that have had those kind of TVs, them TVs never die. Those old wood grain TVs just survive everything. A lot of my friends that had those kind of TVs, they just had to throw it away. One of my friends had one of those wood grain TVs for so long. It lasted until like 2005 when flat screens and LCD and plasmas came up. Yeah.
I still had it.
It just got to a point to where they just threw it outside with a sign that says still works.
Yeah.
I remember one of my friends worked at Goodwill. They could not give away these box TVs fast enough. Families kept donating them, but nobody was buying them. So his Goodwill would just give them away to people that wanted them.
Because they still were. They were dinosaurs.
Well, yeah, because they ran on nuclear power and there's so much radiation that came out of them that they couldn't die.
Yeah.
These things had like gamma rays like the Hulk. These TVs were freaking invincible.
When we finally got rid of the house back in like, I want to say 2010 or 2012 or whatever it was, that TV was still there. It never went anywhere. Which is because it was one of those things where you couldn't lift it by yourself or anything. It was like a big, like set in, had its own display. Like it was just its own thing. So we just left it alone.
Those TVs lived on the first floor because it was like 800 pounds.
And we only got it like that because it was in front of this fireplace that no longer was in use in that house. So we just set this big Goliath thing in front of the fireplace that no longer worked because it was just a waste of space if not, you know. So
and that's where it stayed for the next 30 years of the family's life. That TV became a Decepticon and it walked away by itself.
You know what though? I never saw pictures of the new renovated living room where that TV was because maybe they couldn't get rid of it.
Ooh, they just left it there because it fused with the house on some Akira shit.
I don't know, but I never saw pictures of the living room. They just kind of left that alone. I'm like, what if it's still there?
It's the TV's room now. The TV's just speaking to it. Humans, this is my dwelling.
Give me a beer.
Touch me if you dare. Bring me a beer. Bud Light, please, because I'm watching my weight.
Bud Light.
Okay, so here's the question. I forget if it was either Insidious or the Conjuring movies. Was the house haunted or somebody in the house was haunted?
I think in my case, I don't know to this day what was going on with that apartment that I was living in. I kind of felt like that place was haunted, though. I didn't feel like I was haunted. I think something wanted to be a part of me there because, like I said, like one of the girls that lived there could see whatever was there.
Yeah.
And it, for some reason, was around me because I was the youngest in the building.
But you're like an empath.
Yeah.
You feel the things are happening because there's times where I was thinking of like a stupid jingle in my head and then you'll walk out singing it. And it'll freak me out. And you're just like, yeah, so I just thought of this song. And I was like, I was just singing that in my head, but you sensed it. So it makes sense that you would see and feel things because that's what you naturally do anyway.
But I never felt, and even in both places, I never felt like any one person was haunted. I just felt because of maybe the history there, maybe there was something lingering, and especially in my family home, it was a church. It used to be a church, so of course there's gonna be lingering residual things that are there. So the building was definitely haunted.
Yeah, well, church, depending on what kind of church or how spiritual they got, there could have been a lot of good or bad.
Well, like I said, it never felt malicious there. It
Yeah,
just always felt like there was something there, or there's
yeah,
just something not right, but it never felt bad. Like the apartment felt bad.
yeah.
The apartment definitely felt bad.
It wasn't really until I watched The Conjuring and Insidious
Hmm.
that really maybe just separate the two, right?
Hmm.
A lot of people just assume, oh, it's a haunted house.
Hmm.
But it was the movie Insidious that was just like, the house isn't haunted, your son is haunted.
Right.
Like, the malicious spirit is following the person.
Hmm.
That hit home so hard with me and my family.
Hmm.
My oldest brother forced our family to move not once, but twice.
Hmm.
We used to live at my grandma's house, the same place that had that pet cemetery sandbox.
Hmm.
We were all playing one day. We were all playing hide and go seek or whatever. It was his turn to seek and find everybody.
Hmm.
He walked to the sandbox, and there was a personalized message for him that said his name, and it said, "Go away." He thought it was a joke, so he erased it.
Hmm.
Went to go find the rest of us, came back to the sandbox. It was written again.
Oh wow.
His name, "Go away or else." He didn't believe it. Brushed it off, found
Hmm.
the rest of us. Didn't tell us for weeks.
Hmm.
Once again, we played hide and go seek or whatever. He was it. He had to go find everybody. He walked past that sandbox, and once again, it was written in the sand, but every time it was more intense. You need to leave or I'm going to hurt you.
Hmm.
He finally told my parents because it got so frequent that it would happen at random times now.
Hmm.
At first, everyone wrote it off. Y'all just a bunch of kids, y'all messing with each other. Then there'd be times where nobody was outside,
Hmm.
but my brother felt it in his spirit. He
Hmm.
would go outside and look, and there would be a message for him.
Hmm.
Show my parents. My parents are like, okay, there's something here that doesn't want you here. We're going to move. We moved 45 minutes across town. Get to the house, thinking everything's fine and dandy. Same messages start appearing in the mirror in the bathroom.
Hmm.
It's like the steam hit the mirror and someone wrote. My second oldest brother admit that he wrote once
Hmm.
on the mirror to mess with him. Because, you know, it's like an apartment lock. All you got to do is stick a toothpick in it and the lock pops. So one day he snuck in and wrote the message to mess with my brother.
Hmm.
But then after that, my brother would pull the drawer out, the bathroom vanity drawer.
Hmm.
You pull that drawer out and there would be a physical barrier
Uh-huh.
and you couldn't open that door. It's the same thing as wedging a chair on the doorknob.
Hmm.
My brother did that just to test that my second older brother wasn't messing with him.
Hmm.
He didn't tell anybody either until it happened day after day for weeks. He'd pull the drawer out,
Hmm.
wipe the mirror clean, make sure there was no residual. My brother wrote that beforehand.
Right.
And week after week, he would get threatening messages. You're not safe. Just because you moved, I followed you.
Oh,
Beware.
what?
Leave. Leave now or else. And the final message was, leave now or I will kill you. And he,
Oh.
so that was the message. It was a Saturday. The whole family was home.
Hmm.
My oldest brother ran out the bathroom naked, screaming,
Hmm.
"There's something following me. I'm haunted. Look, come up, come look, come look, come look."
Hmm.
My dad, my other brother went in the bathroom. Everyone saw the message on the mirror.
Yep.
My second oldest brother knew that wasn't him.
Right.
He's like, I didn't write that shit. Because my dad was like, who did this?
Hmm.
We were all scared together. We're like, none of us did this. And then my older brother's like, there's no way no one did it. He pulled the drawer out.
Hmm.
Without question, my dad moved us again.
Hmm.
Something was following my oldest brother. Mind you, okay. Just to give you guys reference, this was the same oldest brother that became this like really OG gangster brother.
Hmm.
Long story short, he became a very scary person in his adult life. He's been locked up. He's done some questionable things that I don't want to talk about right now. But this brother was fearless.
Mm-hmm.
For something like that to scare him enough to where he ran out the bathroom naked, to
Right.
where my dad made us move. My dad didn't even question it. He's like, all right, we'll move as soon as we can.
Mm-hmm.
That brings me back to what you're saying. It's like, was it the house or a person? In our case, for whatever reason, something was something was
Ugh.
I bit my lip.
That was crazy how that happened. I'm just like, ugh. The mouse went in a weird position.
That supernatural shit. Oh my god! Like for you, those of you that are just listening in the audio version of this, like my mouth just contorted weird to where where Shana just saw it, right?
Yeah, your mouth just went all weird.
Saw it where I bit the inside of my lip, and now there's a big sore there, and that's the shit that scares me. Is like I don't like to tell these supernatural stories to my family because I still fear that the residual energy is going to come to me. And Shana and you guys watching on YouTube just witnessed how I bit my lip.
Mm-hmm.
So I take these things seriously.
Right.
I just told you the story and y'all witnessed on camera, like the inside of my lip just got bit.
Mm-hmm.
As many podcasts, if you guys have watched on YouTube, this shit hasn't happened. And you just witnessed right now, my lip contorted.
It's like you're talking about something and your just mouth just went upwards, like weird. It was weird.
So now I just bit my lip hard as hell. But like that's the shit. My dad didn't even question it. He moved the family immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And that same brother, I'll share his stories in like another episode, but he's continued to have supernatural shit happen to him.
Mm-hmm.
And back to what we're saying, it's not the house, it's the people that get haunted.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh my God. Yeah, we moved twice because of this incident. Because whatever was following my brother followed him and made us move.
That's crazy.
This same brother ended up moving from Michigan to Seattle, but I'll get into that story later. But just to let y'all know, like the torment he had to deal with, he had to keep moving from state to state. That's how bad it got. Anyways, I'll save my OG brother's stories for the next episode. But let me throw back to Shana in case she got something quick to slip in there so we can end this podcast on that note.
Quick ending story. This was a house that was down the street the opposite way from my family home. One of the family friends, her name was Bertha.
Bertha's just an old ass name to begin with. All right. No wonder it's scary.
All old people know each other, okay? So like everybody up and down the blocks, my grandparents knew them. They knew everybody on the block. So the people that lived the opposite direction of the apartment. So it was the apartment on the left side and this person was towards the right side. She had always had like these like not block parties, but like house parties that like, you know, all the block people that lived on the block could come over.
Yeah, like, just like neighborhood get-togethers.
Yeah. And it was one of the times where she had her family and friends, her close friends over as well. We didn't go to too many of them because she would have them all the time, but I just distinctly remember being there for one of these. And I got acquainted with these twin girls. These twin girls, they were young, but they were older than me. So they were, you know, old enough to babysit me if they wanted, you know, basically. I got acquainted with these girls. They were twins. They both had glasses on. They both had overalls on. They dressed the same. They looked the same. They were taking me all over Bertha's house. I had never been there really myself, like personally, because my mom would always come over and do things for her. But like me, myself, I had never been in this house. So they were like showing me around. We all just clicked for some reason. I don't know what it was. There was other kids at this party, but I didn't talk to these other kids, and neither of these twins, they didn't talk to anyone but me for some reason. And I was wondering because I was still really young. Like I'm like, why are these older girls talking to me? Like I felt special. I'm like, you know, I'm popular, I guess. they want to talk to me.
Yeah.
So they were taking me around the house. We were just doing all kinds of things, but we were alone a lot of the time. We were away from the party. We were away from the people and everything. And I just remember just being gone for periods of time. And my mom would ask me, like, what are you doing? I'm playing with my friends. I was an only child, so my mom a lot of the times would think like maybe I had imaginary friends or
Yeah.
stuff like that. And of course, like I didn't know it at the time. I was just having a grand old time. I was just doing my thing. I was playing with these girls. We were just hanging out. I'm like, I noticed my mom kept asking me, "Where did you go? What happened to you?" I'm like, "I'm just playing with the girls. Like we're fine. Don't worry." And my mom could see like, the other kids playing in the yard and whatever. All this time I'm playing with these twin girls. I could see other kids outside. I could see them doing their thing. I was never with them. I never got acquainted with anybody else at the party. I was just with these girls. They were trying to like help this puppy because this puppy was lethargic or something, and we were trying to get it like to play and stuff like that. And I remember them giving it water and like trying to like get it to play and stuff like that. I don't know who brought the puppy. I just remember there being a puppy there, like a really really cute white puppy. After all that was said and done, I was like telling my mom about these twin girls I had so much fun with the whole day, and she's just like, okay, okay, whatever. Because I never like went anywhere like down the street or anything like that. But like my mom just kind of passed it off like, okay, she's just found somebody that she got acquainted with that she didn't see. So I'm like, all right. I didn't think anything of it. I was just a kid.
Yeah.
I want to say like months later, maybe it was like several months later, we went back down to Bertha's house, just to like chill out and talk, whatever. And I was like, Bertha, where were those twins? Are they ever gonna come back? Are we gonna play? Are we gonna have fun? And she's like, what twins?
No.
Bertha, that was her family that was there. So it could have been someone that was in her family or whatever. I just remember her later on that day just saying, I don't know how this came about. She was talking about something, and then she went on to her, where she had all her pictures of her family and everything like that. She had pictures of twin women. Like she had like one picture and then another picture like facing each other, but they were like mirroring each other in a way, like you know how twins do. But then she was talking about these twin ladies, and she was just talking so highly of them and saying how great they were. These twin ladies were in their like 70s, I want to say.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how great they were and such great lives they lived, but they had died already. She was talking about them in their prime and what they were doing and stuff like that, but they had already passed. It wasn't until really that I grew up a little bit that I thought back on that.
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, were those the twins that I was playing with, but they were younger? I was like,
Oh.
I couldn't explain that because my mom didn't know what I was talking about. Bertha didn't know what I was talking about. I'm like, I was playing with the twins, and she's like, wait, what twins? Like, what twins?
You're playing with the kids from The Shining. The elevator and all the blood and the twins. Like, ugh.
But I'm gonna tell you, they were so cool. They were dope as hell. I don't know what happened, but like they were cool. They were so cool. We
God.
clicked so well. I don't know what happened. I don't know why they picked me, but like we had such a good time.
I mean, the twin children thing is just scary in itself.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The Shining ruined that for everybody. Just twins are just creepy. But just like how twins are connected. But anyways, but for you to play with the children version of these twins, that just raises so many questions.
It makes you think because Bertha was talking about these twin women, and she was talking about them as if they had already passed on, as if she was talking so highly about them, and like they were so great and they were this and they were that. I'm like, okay, but the twin kids I was playing with, what was that? And she's like, I don't know, because there was no twin kids here. But it made me think bad because they looked just like them, but older. And I still to this day remember what they looked like, what they were wearing, what we did. We just went around the whole house and just had a great old time. But the thing that stuck out to me was my mom lost track of me for periods of time during that party. She didn't know where I went, and I don't know why. We were all through the house, but everybody else was like in the backyard and having a barbecue. But me and the twins were like just jungling around, just up in there in the house, you know? So that really made me think back, and just for her to show me these pictures of the twin women that
Mm-hmm.
were already gone, that made me think, okay, maybe those twins weren't real.
Ugh.
Maybe I really wasn't playing with twin girls. I don't know. You guys can speculate all you want, but I know what I know, and I know what I did. And that was the only time that I really played with ghost children, I guess.
Ugh. I don't like stories involving ghost children to begin with,
Right.
but now you're talking about twin ghost children,
Mhm.
and both adults verified that they weren't there. Ugh. Ugh. All right, guys, we have come to a closing point for this episode. I still have more supernatural spooky tales to tell.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure Shana does. We will collect our thoughts and we will give that to you guys in the next episode. But what I asked from you guys, are you guys enjoying these spooky tales? If you guys want us to talk about something else in Halloween, like our favorite recipes or something, just let us know in the comments below. I just figured it's been a rough year for everybody, and a lot of us want to enjoy Halloween to the full potential.
Mhm.
I just want to dedicate this month to Halloween-ish topics. Or if you have your own spooky story that you want to tell, type it out in detail and let me know. Like, I'll share your story in an episode. Like, we serious about celebrating Halloween like this entire month. So if y'all got stories you want to tell, just let us know.
If you want, we can set up an email that you can send your stories to. Because I've seen a lot of storytellers on YouTube have that, where they have their YouTube,
Oh,
where they have their email, and you can send your stories to that email.
and we already have that email, Shinobi Squad Podcast at gmail.com.
Oh.
So if you have a story that you want us to read out, we down to do that too. Like I said, Halloween this whole month.
Oh, yes.
Also, I want to mention that Shana has started her OnlyFans account.
Yes.
With Facebook and Instagram screwing everyone over with algorithms, we were looking for a new platform to use. Shana decided to go with the OnlyFans route before a bunch of y'all start grumbling and getting mad. Her account is free to access. So you can subscribe to her OnlyFans for free. You can see a lot of the same content that she's already posting on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever her other social medias, plus additional content. I'm about to start my OnlyFans soon as well. I'm looking to move from Instagram and stuff like that. Because like I said, algorithms have screwed everyone over. It's free for you guys to use. I'm just giving the people that follow us other options to just look at our stuff. Because algorithms don't even show the people that want to see what we're posting.
Exactly.
There's going to be a lot of free content, but there's also going to be options for you to support her or myself. That helps us create more content, make more cosplays or whatever. We'll put all those links below. Like I said, it's free to subscribe.
For those of you who have been following me for a while, I've been no stranger to, other content, sexy content, stuff like that, and fashion and everything. But you guys just can't really see it because Instagram blocks it all the time. So I just wanted a place for you guys to be able to access a lot of that content. If you want, it's there. A lot of it is for free. I just want to be able to show you guys more of what I can do. And that's it.
So anyways, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Shinobi Squad Podcast. We got more spooky Halloween content to come. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, comment, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you guys.
Bye.